Hi everyone, I'm Casey Culler and I'm doing the video discussion board for the history of the Revolutionary War for Liberty University Online. What I'm going to be discussing today is the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, which occurred in March of 1871, March 15th to be exact, of 1871, where Lord Cornwallis from the British encountered General Nathaniel Greene of the Continental Army. I have a couple images that I'm going to put it on while I do the discussion. So here you go. On March 15th, 1871, the Revolutionary War made its way to the Guilford Courthouse area of North Carolina. The two main characters in this battle is General Greene, Nathaniel Greene, and Lord Cornwallis. So I'll switch over to their graphic here. On the left is Lord Cornwallis, and on the right is General Greene. As you can see, they're fairly intense looking individuals. First I want to talk about Nathaniel Greene. He was born to Quaker parents, and the area around Guilford Courthouse is a large Quaker area. My undergraduate school there is Guilford College, which is a Quaker school, and so Nathaniel Greene must have been home there because there was a large Quaker population there. He grew up and he was smart and he excelled in school, though he was homeschooled. But after the Gadsby affair in 1775, his family was accused of being involved in the destruction of a British ship. General Greene decided to look deeper into the talk of revolution and that such. So joining the military, however, was against what he was raised to do as a Quaker. He wasn't supposed to do that, but he did either way. In 1775, when the revolution broke out, Greene raised a company called the Kentish Guards, and he joined as a private and got a musket that he actually bought from a deserter from the British. Though he had a injury as a child, he was accepted into the ranks because he was good. His abilities were understood. And then by May of 1775, a sheer few months in the army at all, he was promoted to the rank of brigadier general, and worked in Washington's army. His skill was understood, and he became one of Washington's favorite generals that he could depend on. During the Southern campaign, General Greene worked under Washington, and they were having trouble with their payments to the contracts for the equipment and food and all that. And so General Greene, to get the job done, started promising personally to pay the loans if the Continental government couldn't. So he personally guaranteed those. Well, at the war's end, Greene was in debt a lot of money because they, of course, didn't pay as they were supposed to, those debtors. So Greene ended up selling almost all of his property and tried to pay those accounts that he had promised. And he did. Eventually he paid them all off and ended up moving to Georgia. And it was in Georgia that he died from some complications to a heat injury, I believe, in 1786. So in the end, he fought through the war and done well. He was one of his favorite generals. Guaranteed the loans that he had borrowed for the troops himself, and basically lost all of what he had and had to rebuild after the war, and then didn't make it a whole lot longer after that. It's kind of a tragic ending to a great life. Now the photo on the left, that was Nathaniel Greene. He's on the right. The photo on the left is Lord Cornwallis. He was born into an aristocratic English family. He early on was decided to be a soldier. He began his career at 17. his father died, and so he became the second Earl Cornwallis, which meant he was a politician of sorts in the House of Lords. Then he became the aide-de-camp to King George III in 1765. And later on the Constable of the Tower of London, and he ended up getting sent to the United States when the rebellion started and the war began. He was promoted to general, or lieutenant general, and become the commander-in-chief of North America. He led many attacks against Washington's line in areas like Monmouth and in New Jersey. So after the war, after the campaign, after the war was over, he was kind of the scapegoat that was General Clinton, General Clinton used him as a scapegoat. General Clinton was his boss in the war. They kind of used him as a scapegoat as to why they lost the war. It didn't really affect him much in his career because he was a career politician, a career military man. So everybody kind of looked past this as no big deal. But he kind of lamented that he was used as a scapegoat by his boss. Either way, he moved back to England, and did a lot of things for the government. He was a commander-in-chief and governor of Ireland, and he was sent to India for years to work under the British government there. He ended up dying in India at age 66, and in 1805. So those are two of the most prominent characters in the battle that I like to talk about. There are two other ones I would like to at least mention. I think warrant mentioning, and one is a gentleman by the name of Henry Lee III. Henry Lee was a lieutenant at the Battle of Guilford Courthouse. He also later on became the 9th governor of Virginia and a member of the House of Representatives, U.S. House of Representatives, as well. He's buried at Lee Chapel in Washington Lee University, and he attended college in New Jersey. He was called Light Horse Harry during the battle. One significant thing that I want to bring to your attention about him is his son. His son is named Robert E. Lee and fought, of course, in the Civil War. Oftentimes when I've been at the Guilford Courthouse for public history events and living stories and living histories, a lot of people get confused. They see Light Horse Lee and they think that's like Robert E. Lee, because they have a hard time understanding that it's two separate wars. And so sometimes it's hard to explain that, no, this was his dad, who nobody ever heard of before. But that was Henry Lee III, Robert E. Lee's father, who fought here. The other gentleman I want to speak about briefly is Peter Francisco. Both of them fought for the Continental Army. The thing about Peter Francisco is he was called the Virginia Giant, or Giant Hercules, or the Giant of the Revolution. He was a massive, huge individual of, they think, Portuguese descent. His story is riddled with like lore, people not knowing exactly how he came about and how he ended up here, but he was found abandoned in the docks in, I believe, City Point, Virginia, and he didn't speak English, and they called him Pedro. In the end, he was about 6'8" and about 260 pounds. So in a time when the average adult male wasn't nearly that big, you can imagine, average soldier maybe 5'7" or 5'8", 180 pounds. This gentleman was 6'8" and weighed 260 pounds. The myth and lore around Peter Francisco is massive. There was books written about him. There's stories. There's been stamps issued in his name. He's prominent in pop culture. There's a folk music named after him called it's a fiddle tune called Peter Francisco. There's a book called Badass by Ben Thompson. There are several references to him in pop culture today just because he's an oddity, not being the quote normal soldier. So that's my first video blog about Guilford Courthouse. Hopefully I'll be able to use it more during the course, as it's close to me and close to home in my heart, with my undergraduate degree being from right there as well. So I hope to use it more often. Hope this was informative for all you guys, and you can enjoy looking up the Guilford Courthouse battle as well. Thank you.